He might stop him, man. I ain't gonna hold you, man.
Canelo Alvarez got one of the best chins.
Yeah, but hey, listen, he ain't been hit by Terence though. Terence can punch, man. You know what I mean? I know he's been in with some of the great punches and all that, but them punches gotta be placed right. You know what I mean? And Terence placed some punches, man.
I can totally see Crawford outboxing Canelo, like bad, making him look like taking him straight to school. But again,
the tension between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez is growing as Crawford continues to claim that Canelo doesn't stand a chance against him. The latest developments have only made things more intense. Crawford has already begun trying to chip away at Canelo's strong support from Mexican fans. Known for his calculated approach in the ring, the Nebraska fighter is using the same strategy outside of it by openly challenging Canelo's position as the face of Mexican boxing. It's a bold move, clearly influenced by Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s famous mind games, but with Crawford's own twist.
For Canelo, I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Amir Khan to just... Obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not.
Canelo has long been seen as a symbol of Mexican pride. With his heritage playing a major role in his image and global success, he's always embraced that identity and defended his place as a national boxing icon. But Crawford seems to have spotted a weakness in what many thought was an unshakable bond. Over the years, critics have questioned Canelo's spot among the all-time greats, saying his career, though impressive, has been carefully managed to protect both his record and marketability. This is where Crawford's strategy gets interesting. He hasn't just called out Canelo's style and resume, he's also started targeting what made him beloved in the first place: his connection to Mexican fans, in a move similar to Floyd Mayweather's mind games. With Oscar de la Hoya, Crawford released merchandise showing his image against a Mexican flag backdrop with the phrase "Viva Mexico." This isn't just bold branding, it's a direct challenge to Canelo's identity as Mexico's top boxing figure. It's also a calculated attempt to tap into a part of the Mexican fan base that sees Canelo as more businessman than warrior. Some fans, despite his fame, criticize him for avoiding certain opponents and picking safer fights. They compare him to legends like Julio Cesar Chavez, Salvador Sanchez, Ruben Olivares, and Juan Manuel Marquez, who they feel fought for pride and legacy above money. For these fans, Canelo's path, though successful, lacks the heart and spirit of the Mexican greats before him.
Going with Terence Crawford, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. It ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I am not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can.
Crawford's new t-shirts are clearly aimed at winning over fans who value courage over comfort, showing him as a fighter willing to face any challenge, no matter the money involved. This is a key moment in the build-up to the fight, where mental edges can be created before the action even begins. Known for his intense style and ability to wear down opponents in the ring, Crawford is now using that same mindset in promoting the fight. It's a bold strategy that might push away some of the fans he hopes to win, but it also casts him as the determined underdog fighting to prove himself.
I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments just off of pure hate. So what would they be able to say with me going up 2 weight classes? If Canelo become undisputed again and I beat Canelo, what could they say? They'll say something, but
despite all the tension surrounding the fight, the financial stakes are massive. Reports suggest Canelo could earn up to $150 million, far more than anything Crawford has made before. This huge payout highlights how big this fight is for both fighters, but it also adds to the debate. Some critics argue that Canelo's recent performances show he's now more focused on boosting his earnings and cementing his place as the top pound-for-pound fighter.
I'm like, all right, well, Canelo 5'7", my arms longer.
Yeah.
He's strong, I'm strong.
Right.
It be, to me, skill for skill.
Right.
Because Canelo not the biggest 168 fighter. So,
Even veteran promoter Bob Arum didn't hold back recently, saying he wouldn't spend money to watch the fight because he feels Canelo has lost his hunger. Arum said if the fight happens it's fine and somewhat interesting, but he personally wouldn't pay for it since Canelo's recent performances show he's more focused on business than boxing.
Canelo, there's a lot of talk about that.
I think Canelo wipes the floor with him. I love Crawford. I told you when Crawford and Spence that Crawford would beat the hell out of him. But Canelo is a different proposition. It's an interesting fight. but I think there's only one winner. What fight
Why
would
do you
make the
feel
most?
he wipes the floor with him?
What?
Is it because of the weight difference?
Because Canelo, yeah.
He's no longer fighting to excite the crowd, he's just collecting big paydays. But if Canelo brings the same intensity Crawford is known for, it could still turn out to be a great and exciting fight. This view matches what many fans feel, that Canelo, who once fought with fire and had something to prove, now fights more like a calculated businessman, while Crawford has shaped his image as a focused, relentless fighter who steps into the ring to defend his legacy every single time.
Crawford is very talented, great footwork, great combinations, and a very strong fighter. You know, he, facing him off, he's actually the taller man. So I'm leaning towards Crawford now. I switched my opinion. I think Canelo looked too slow, too flat-footed. One punch at a time. I don't think that's going to be enough for him to beat Crawford. Crawford's too fast, too strong.
However, this fight presents a serious physical challenge that can't be ignored. Weight has been a major talking point, with many questioning whether Crawford, who has spent most of his career at lightweight and welterweight, can deal with the strength and durability of a true super middleweight like Canelo. It's not just about adding muscle, it requires a complete shift in how Crawford prepares and fights. Other boxers have struggled with this kind of jump. Jermall Charlo, for instance, was completely outmatched when he moved up 2 weight classes to face Canelo, showing just how risky this kind of move can be.
The notion that Terence "Bud" Crawford should move up 3 weight classes, 21 pounds, to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's entirely too small. Jermall Charlo.
Amir Khan, who has shared the ring with both Crawford and Canelo, offered a serious take on the challenge Crawford is facing. He said that when a fighter moves up in weight to face someone like Canelo, they'll need to spar with bigger opponents during training, which can put a lot of strain on the body. Khan pointed out that Crawford will have to gain some extra pounds to match Canelo physically, but questioned whether it's worth putting that kind of pressure on himself.
Canelo just outboxes him. Well, no, doesn't outbox him, but I think just outpowers him and beats him to the punch. And you do give Canelo does have some sort of decent speed as well. So I think Canelo just wins that fight easy.
It'd be a knockout.
Could be, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
This is where Crawford runs into his toughest physical test. He's shown he can handle different styles and overcome tough matchups, but facing Canelo, a proven heavy hitter, is a whole different level. Still, it's possible that the challenge itself is what attracts him to the fight. It's a high-risk, high-reward moment that could either secure his legacy as one of the best of his time or expose the limits of his size and strength. The matchup between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford has sparked reactions from some of boxing's biggest names, with opinions ranging from confidence in a Canelo knockout to hopeful support for Crawford pulling off the upset.
For years, I think Bud would beat Canelo. I think Bud just got the style that outbox Canelo. I seen Canelo get outboxed every time, so I think Bud is the guy.
What did you think when everybody thought Bud was going to lose? When he fought, and everybody thought he was going to lose, and he came in pissed. Charlamagne thought he was going to lose. He came in
Julio Cesar Chavez, a legendary figure in Mexican boxing, didn't hold back when asked about the fight. He dismissed Crawford's chances completely, saying the matchup is one-sided because of Canelo's clear advantage in size and power. Chavez called Crawford a great fighter, but said he's simply not on Canelo's level. He believes Crawford is chasing a big payday and predicted that Canelo will knock him out. His comments reflect the view held by many old-school fighters who are skeptical of big weight jumps, especially when the smaller fighter may not have the frame to absorb the kind of punishment a naturally bigger opponent can deliver.
Muy dispareja, la verdad. Crawford es un gran peleador, pero no tiene nada que hacer en ese peso. Con todo respeto, él va por el dinero y Canelo lo va a noquear.
The 2 fighters are going to be different weight classes, even though they're going to fight on a specific weight. He believes that they're just going because of the money, Crawford, but probably Canelo's going.
This view does carry weight. Canelo, despite mixed opinions about him, has proven himself as a serious threat at super middleweight. He's beaten some of the hardest hitters in the division and taken punches that would have dropped smaller fighters. His toughness is well known, his body shots are punishing, and he's one of the best at closing distance and trapping opponents in the ring. Chavez's prediction is based on the belief that while Crawford is extremely skilled, he may not have the size or strength to deal with a full-sized 168-pound powerhouse like Canelo.
People that say that Crawford can beat Canelo, no problem. I mean, I respect that, but I just think they're stupid. I mean, excuse my language. The size difference of a bigger man changes everything with one punch. And I can see the same thing. I mean, you saw Canelo Alvarez fighting Amir Khan. Now, look at this. Terence Crawford.
Oscar de la Hoya, another former fighter turned promoter who once worked closely with Canelo, is also backing Alvarez to win. De la Hoya, who signed Canelo to Golden Boy Promotions in 2010 and helped launch his rise to the top, shared similar concerns about the size difference. Even though their relationship soured in 2020, De La Hoya still respects Canelo's natural strength and powerful frame. In a now-deleted interview with Fight Hype, he said that while Crawford might have the edge in pure boxing ability, Canelo's size and physical strength will likely be too much for him to handle.
And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
You know.
When comparing their skill sets, it's clear that Crawford is the more technical fighter, and even Oscar De La Hoya agrees with that. But Canelo holds the edge in size and power, and as Bob Arum predicted he'll eventually break through Crawford's defense. The fight might be competitive early on, but stylistically it seems like it could become one-sided after about 7 rounds once Canelo starts pressing forward and pushing the pace. His power will likely take over and become too much for Crawford to handle.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, this is the truth again, it's a money grab. That's it.
Eddie Hearn, known for his straightforward opinions, took a more measured stance but ultimately sided with Canelo. He pointed out the physical reality of the matchup, saying that while Crawford is incredibly skilled, he's not a natural 168-pound fighter. Hearn referenced Crawford's fight against Israil Madrimov, a smaller and less physically strong opponent than Canelo, and noted that Crawford didn't look dominant even at 154 pounds. Physically, Hearn said, Crawford isn't a solid 154-pounder, doesn't fit well at 160, and definitely isn't built for super middleweight. He also highlighted Canelo's ability to take damage and land heavy, fight-changing punches, which he believes will likely be too much for Crawford to handle.
How is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
Yeah, I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35. 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to move your...
I give Crawford the early advantage in the fight, yes. I think there could be a stoppage, especially with Canelo involved. But that depends. He'll need to catch Crawford early because Terence will be using a lot of movement, and that's something Canelo struggles with. He prefers opponents who stand still and trade shots. According to Hearn, this shows the physical risk Crawford is taking, since the difference in power and durability between them might become clear in the later rounds. Demetrius Andrade, who also knows what it's like to fight at super middleweight, shared his own thoughts on the matchup.
Stronger guy, the bigger guy, but in the fight with a guy that moves around, and if Crawford uses his skills and his legs and his technique and just his ability, I think he can win. He can win the fight in decision, as long as he doesn't get hit with the...
Andrade, who has experience fighting opponents the same size as Canelo, praised Crawford's talent but remained doubtful about his chances against the Mexican star. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, he said Canelo is a strong and tough fighter who can keep going all night. Andrade added that while Crawford is highly skilled, dealing with Canelo's power and defense is another challenge. He pointed out that Canelo isn't slow or stiff, he has speed and knows how to move well in the ring. In Andrade's view, it's going to be a very difficult fight for Crawford.
No Triple G on Bud's resume. There's no Trout on Bud's resume. There's no Daniel Jacobs on Bud's resume. Canelo is the one that's fought the elite level opposition. It's Canelo that fought Laura. There is no Laura on Bud's resume. There is no Laura on Bud's resume. Bud has never faced a multiple division champ. Bud has never faced a multiple division champ.
Yeah, but Bud is an elite boxer.
So you're an elite boxer, but you haven't fought.
Andre's comments stand out because they touch on a key part of this matchup: Whether Crawford can handle punches from someone naturally bigger like Canelo. Crawford's defense and reflexes are top-notch, but he's never faced the kind of raw power that Canelo brings. Many analysts are questioning if Crawford's skill and technique will be enough to deal with the physical strength he'll be up against on fight night.
It's a great fight for boxing. I know people don't agree with it, but if Canelo fights one inkling of the wrong fight, he's gonna lose. If he comes out and fights the right fight, it's gonna be a tough one. So right now, I think it's gonna be either way, but it depends on what type of fight Canelo fights.
You've been a guy that went up in weight class. How do you think Terence Crawford should handle the weight? Should he come in lighter? Should he come right around the weight limit?
Come in as big as he can get. You get to the weight limit, because there is a weight limit.
However, not everyone is counting Crawford out. Sean Porter, who once faced Crawford in the ring, has a more hopeful view. Porter said he's seen Crawford's drive and focus up close and believes he can pull off the upset. Speaking to Talk Sport, Porter said Crawford is the most competitive person he knows. He added that the timing is right for both fighters and that Canelo might start to fade after 8 or 10 rounds, giving Crawford a real shot at winning the fight.
Because like once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, so I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later, and he still got that kind of steam. But, there's so many components that make a champion. There's so many components that make a great, a legend.
This viewpoint looks at things from a different angle. Canelo has taken a lot of punishment throughout his long career, and while he's still a powerful force, he's been through several tough battles over the years. If Crawford can survive the early pressure and take the fight into the later rounds where Canelo's age and wear and tear might show, he could pull off one of the biggest upsets in recent boxing history. Former champion and now popular analyst Timothy Bradley took it even further, saying that if Crawford wins, it would make him the best fighter in the world and possibly the best of his generation. Bradley said a win like this would be massive and noted that no one has ever moved from 135 to 168 pounds and become the top fighter in the division.
See the same tendencies that Canelo has now, but he's a lot older now. But I just think that Terence has more skills than Lara, and I think he can do more. And you're saying that, Canelo is a super strong guy. Man, technique, you already know. If you ever wrestled before, the person that got better technique usually win. It don't matter how much the weight they have or what they're carrying around. It's the technique. Crawford knows how to take care of himself on the inside. He knows how to smother. He knows how to tie up. He knows how to rough guys up. He knows how to turn.
If Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, it will likely be by using a careful technical approach similar to what Floyd Mayweather did against a younger Canelo in 2013. That strategy includes jabbing, moving, and clinching to limit Canelo's power, but it could also lead to a slower fight that may not deliver the excitement some fans are hoping for. Crawford is known for his smart and calculated style. He's often compared to Shakur Stevenson for his defense, though he's a bit more aggressive, unlike the hard-hitting, action-packed fighters around 154 pounds or the best version of Errol Spence before his accident. Crawford's fights don't always thrill casual viewers. Still, he's a skilled technician, and his supporters believe he's ready for the challenge.